The International Monetary Fund and Europe remain deadlocked over how to tackle Greece's debt crisis, with Europe willing to consider only lower interest rates and longer debt repayments, while the IMF is pushing for a debt restructuring, according to senior European officials. "We are still apart. Time is tight and there is a need for a common line," the senior European official with direct involvement in the matter said. The official said that a number of Eurozone countries, led by Germany, see the Greek problem as one of adjustment and structural reforms over time. "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." The IMF sees it more as a debt issue, which must be addressed at once. While the IMF is prepared to examine various ways that could eventually lead to debt reduction, including yet another bailout package by the Eurozone that will help Athens return to growth and cut its debt level, its preferred method is a reduction in the amount of debt outstanding, what is referred to as a haircut. But a haircut is anathema in the Eurozone because of political repercussions. Officials said that the IMF has made it "thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Clear to the Europeans that it isn't prepared to extend more money to Athens without a move that leads to a cut in the debt level first. Apart from the limits imposed on it by its statutes, the IMF is unwilling to risk its credibility before possibly being asked to take part in a much larger bailout of Spain. Greece's debt sustainability is among the top matters discussed at the IMF's annual meetings underway in Tokyo. The second bailout agreement in March defined debt sustainability as 120% of gross domestic product by 2020. But the fund's "thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Fiscal Monitor said Tuesday that ratio would climb to 170.7% of GDP this year, and a whopping 181.8% of GDP in 2013, because of the recession being worse than expected. That suggests the 120% target is out of reach. Officials said the IMF believe that by 2020, the debt-to-GDP ratio will be close to 150%. This means that the IMF won't sign off the next loan payment until the other creditors take the necessary action to cut the debt level, a second European official said. While they are debating on what is the best course of action, "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Greece will run out of money sometime in November. Greece, which has already received hundreds of billions of euros in two bailout packages from the Eurozone and the IMF since 2010, remains in a dire condition. The imposed austerity and cutbacks have pushed the economy in a contractionary spiral for 5 straight years. The country is counting on a next loan payment of €31 billion $40 billion by the end of November to stave off default. Representatives of the troika of lenders of the Eurozone, IMF and European Central Bank are currently in "thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Athens negotiating the new series of austerity measures in return for that money. The IMF, which as a senior creditor can't accept a write-down on the money it has lent to Greece, would be satisfied with a debt reduction of about €50 billion $65 billion according to officials involved in the matter. But that is politically prohibitive in countries such as Germany, where public opinion is staunchly against any more help to Greece. Any such move could damage the re-election hopes of Chancellor Angela Merkel at a national poll next year. Ms. Merkel visited Athens on Tuesday. "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." For the first time since the crisis began, but, despite offering moral support and sympathy, gave no public indication of being willing to change the terms of the existing program. Some €50 billion of Greek debt is currently held by the European Central Bank and some of the Eurozone's 17 national central banks. Restructuring these claims could save Eurozone governments the embarrassment of explaining to their parliaments why they had to write down the loans that they made to Greece in 2010 and 2011. ECB officials are opposed to any such moves. It's "thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." President Mario Draghi says that even rescheduling repayments would amount to direct financing of a member state, which is against its charter. Debt restructurings invariably involve transfers of wealth from creditors to debtors, and the ECB insists that only governments have the democratic legitimacy to do that. However, ECB board member Jürgen Asmussen appeared Friday to open a window on ECB involvement. In comments to German daily Süddeutsche Zeitung, He indicated that the resources of the European Stability Mechanism, the Eurozone's new bailout vehicle, could be used to reduce Greece's debt level to a sustainable level. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. By buying back Greek bonds held by the ECB, we have to think in the coming weeks about solutions such as a voluntary debt buyback, Mr. Asmussen was quoted as saying. The ECB bought the bonds well below face value on the open market in an ill-fated attempt to keep overall monetary conditions in Greece easy. In theory, the ESM could lend Greece funds to buy back those bonds, which still have a higher face value. This would reduce the country's outstanding debt stock and consequently the ratio of debt to GDP. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. The method proposed by Mr. Asmussen appears to revolve around using €50 billion of ESM funds to buy Greek bonds currently held by the ECB and some of the Eurozone's central banks. That is equivalent to over 25% of Greece's gross domestic product. Such a model for debt relief had been floated in 2010, but the then president of the ECB, Jean-Claude Trichet, had refused to accept it. Moreover, the treaty governing the ESM has no provision for using its resources that way, and German government officials have described the plan as unrealistic. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. German bankers also gave the idea a cool reception. The question is, if such a program came, those who could or would sell would demand higher prices so that the effect would be relatively small. Andreas Schmitz, president of the German Bankers Association, told reporters on the sidelines of the Tokyo meetings. German Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble told a panel in Tokyo that nothing can be done before the creditors' representatives in Athens deliver their report on a new austerity package, which is expected toward the end of the month. On Thursday, he criticized IMF managing. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Director Christine Lagarde forewarning Eurozone leaders against imposing even tighter austerity on debt-ridden members. Greek problems must be solved in Greece, Mr. Schäuble said on the sidelines of the meetings, adding that the Eurozone shouldn't create false incentives that could lead to a slowdown in reforms. Officials said the most Berlin could be prepared to consider is the possible granting of a longer repayment period for the €52.9 billion in bilateral loans that Greece received from Eurozone partners in its first bailout package in 2010, and maybe a lower interest rate. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. On those loans, Germany may also accept a Greek request for a 2-year extension to meet its budget deficit targets, the second official said. But while such moves will make it easier for Greece to finance its debt, they do little in terms of cutting it. In fact, granting an extension will end up adding up to €20 billion to the total. One measure that would lighten Athens' debt burden would see the ESM take on the nearly €50 billion in debt that the Greek government borrowed to recapitalize its banks. Eurozone leaders in. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. June agreed to allow the ESM to recapitalize Eurozone banks directly, and said they would provide up to €100 billion for recapitalizing Spain's banks. Doing the same for Greece would reduce its debt by 15 to 20% of GDP. Greek government officials said they expect the proposal to be discussed at an EU summit in Brussels next week. But the direct recapitalization of banks by the ESM is still far from being realized with all the conditions attached. So we are not holding our breath, one official said.